Hi folks, today we're going to see how with just a few clicks of the mouse you can see the range of keywords that people in your marketplace are using, and more importantly we'll show you how to stay away from the 90% of lousy keywords with little to no traffic and focus your time and energy on the great keywords with lots of traffic. We're also going to touch on a couple of advanced topics for the more experienced viewers. To quickly recap, basically 99% of sites fail miserably in the search engines, and if a site can't get traffic, that site itself is doomed. You see, most sites are actually doomed to fail before they start because they break one of the 3 golden rules of online marketing. And the rules that you'll recall are, firstly, we must target keywords with traffic, which is what we're going to look at now. Secondly, we must target keywords which have commercial value. That's about keywords that bring you buyers with money, not just people who are going to waste your time. And that's in the second video. Thirdly, we must target keywords with low competition. That's about fighting battles that you can win. So let's get stuck into traffic. On average, 90% of keywords have lousy traffic. In fact, Google have stated that 1/4 of all searches are totally unique. They only ever happen once. So clearly, we don't want to be ranking on the low end of the traffic market. We want to rank on keywords with lots of strong, consistent traffic. The process is quite simple. We just need a keyword to start with, and then we can jump in from there. We're going to use the well-worn example from internet marketing of dog training. We'll start with a keyword or the key phrase of dog training. So here we go. We jump in and we enter in dog training, and we'll keep that as our title for the project as well. Before we jump into further, just a couple of interesting things to note. If you're running a project that's not in English, you can certainly use Market Samurai for that. You can specify other languages. You can also say, hey, I'm only interested in traffic data for a given regional area, so a given country. And this can be really important if you're running a project specific to that country, and that's really where you're looking to get your traffic from. Also, you can say whether you do or don't want to include adult content. So let's click Create. Now in this example, we're looking in this keyword research tab. There's lots of other things in Market Samurai, but it's keyword research that we're after. Now what we want to do, we actually want to see, hey, dog training is our starting phrase, but what are the world or the other keywords that relate back to dog training that are in the same theme as dog training? And so what we do is we click Generate Keywords, and this goes away and collects for us the other keywords related to dog training. So let's go, and we have to enter in our little pass. Pop that in, and now the system, this typically takes 30 seconds to a minute to go and collect that data, and so we'll just we'll take a moment and pause whilst that comes back. And here we have the data. In this case, the system's collected 200 keywords that relate to the phrase dog training. Now before we jump into the analysis part, which is where all the fun is, what we need to see here is that there are some other ways that we can manipulate this list. You might know the dog training or market or your market really well, and what you can do is you can type in or copy and paste in a whole bunch of other keywords and then also run the analysis on those. Similarly, you might have there might be keywords that you say this keyword must appear in the list. Now I'm going to say, look, the keyword dog or dogs, it must appear in the list. Now if I update that list, there are 26 keywords here that didn't have the word dog or dogs in them. Similarly, I can enter negative keywords, and by putting a negative keyword in, if I put in the word, say, obedience, it would knock out every instance, every key phrase with the word obedience in it. So we can control this list and include or exclude specific phrases. Also, let's say we wanted to look at, say, the longer versions, the longer keywords that are out there. We can say, hey, we're only interested in a minimum of keywords with 3 words or longer. And so in this case, that's knocked out 50 short keywords. Similarly, you can specify a maximum. So this just enables us to control what keywords we see. Let's jump in and analyze these keywords. Now this is where it gets interesting. This here is the number of daily searches on average for that phrase. So if we can order by that and say, okay, the most searched one here is dog before dogs, and this is 1.8 million times per day. Now generally speaking, we're actually not going to want to try and tackle the one-word phrases. They're too generic, and they typically are too competitive. And so what we can do, this little X over here, if we click this once, and again we've got rid of those 2 phrases, we've removed 2, and they've been taken out of our list. More importantly, what we want to be able to do is quickly knock out all of these keywords down here, the ones like Oriole Dog Training Club, which gets 11 searches per day, and it doesn't have a whole lot of potential value to us. So what we can do is we can say up here in total searches, we can specify a maximum criteria here of 500. Now, that's knocked out 139 keywords. And so we're down to just the 61 which have the high traffic. Now, as a rough rule of thumb, if we're looking at markets that are going to be of interest, we want to play in markets that have at least 500 searches per day. If we're already in a market and we just want to post some content within that market, typically we'll set our benchmark lower at, say, 100 searches per day. Now, I say that with a caveat that in some markets there are low traffic that are really valuable traffic, and so you set your benchmarks a bit lower. In other markets there's lots of traffic, but the value per lead's pretty low, and so you have to set those benchmarks a bit higher. Now, that whole process of understanding the commercial value of leads and what leads are going to make you money and what leads are going to waste your time is a really important one, and so that's actually part of the second video in this series. So now you've seen this, there really is no excuse not to be understanding and knowing where the traffic is in your marketplace and targeting keywords without traffic. If it's okay, what I'd like to do is actually tackle a couple of advanced topics. Firstly, see here we've got searches. A lot of people mistake searches for clicks. You think about it, not every time that you run a search in, say, Google, do you actually click through to a result. And also, you don't always click on the first result. And so, through the analysis of literally millions of search results, what we've discovered is that basically, at maximum, about 42% of people who search will click on the first result in a given set of results. And so this SEOT is really more like a practical number. This SEOT here is actually 42% of this searches column. And so what we see here with 42% is, hey, that's a more realistic number of if you were to rank on the first position in Google for that key phrase, the kind of traffic that you might expect to get through to your website. And so there's a bit more of a reality check here. Secondly, we also want to look at trends. Now, some keywords are trending up. Some keywords are trending down. Some keywords are cyclical. You know, they happen every year at a certain time of the year. And it's important, if we're going to put time and energy in, to have a little bit of a look at the trends. And a quick glance down here shows us, for example, this one, dog boarding, seems to be cyclical at a certain time of the year. And if we want to know more about that, let's take, say, puppy training. If we want to know more about that puppy training, we can click on this trends graph, and we can actually jump into our web browser and we go to Google Trends. Now, Google Trends, if you've not seen it before, is a fantastic tool, absolutely worth having a look at. What Google Trends is showing us here on puppy training is that puppy training is reasonably stable, but has a spike every year, which you'd expect around Christmas time, and it looks like a little bit of a surge in the middle of the year. It's trending down slowly, but it's a reasonably consistent keyword. The actual really quite interesting thing in here, and this wasn't chosen out of some patriotism because if you haven't picked it, I have an Australian accent. Australia here actually has the most searches for puppy training. Now, normally when you look at Google Trends data, you will see the US and the UK as the places where there is the most searches happening. But this is quite interesting, and if you're going to base your business around a given key phrase, you'd want to say, hey, well, if your product had appealed to a specific region, you might want to look and see what the traffic is in that specific region. So that's just something to be aware of. Let's jump back into Market Samurai. A couple of other things to be aware of. There's this notion over here of what we call PBR. Now, we'll see here, PBR, you'll sometimes see words that come down. Sorry, PBR's back here. You'll sometimes see words that happen, and they actually appear, and there's none here, but they actually appear in an odd order. In an order that is not the way that a human would use that. And typically that will coincide with what we see as a low PBR. Now, PBR for the more advanced users out there stands for phrase to broad match ratio. As a simple rule, what we like to do is we typically put in, say, a minimum of 15% as our PBR, and what that will do, that actually knocked out some more keywords, that will knock out keywords that are in odd orders and not a way that a human would use them, and typically they can be a little bit misleading. So we want to, if we put in 15 as our phrase to broad match ratio, that knocks out those words in odd orders. Now again, for the more experienced players out there, the data you're looking at here is broad match data. You can actually change your view to phrase match data, and that will drop your number down to, and you can also look at the exact match data. If you're listening to this and saying, well, I don't know what broad and phrase and exact match data are, feel free to check out marketsamurai.com and it's outlined there, or you can also just do a general Google on phrase versus broad match, and there's plenty of people talking about it as well, and it's talking about the different kinds of traffic that exist out there in the marketplace. So there really is now no excuse, and the great thing is that all the functionality you see here, all the different areas under this keyword research tab are free forever. You have this software forever. This part of it, the tool, will never expire. One more thing before we finish up. Often what you'll do is you'll look at dog training and you'll say, hey, it's actually puppy training that I'm really about. I want to explore that some more. So what you can do, you can actually click on the little key next to puppy training, and that's going to open up a new tab up here. So let's do that. Let's click on the key, and we've now got puppy training as the tab that we're focused on. If we wanted to do a competition analysis, we could click in and see the competition analysis for puppy training, but we can also do more keyword research and say, hey, what are the keywords related to puppy training? So we clicked on generate keywords, it'll bring up a whole bunch more. One other thing that I didn't highlight previously was when you bring back keywords, say related to puppy training, you can say, look, I want anything even broadly related to it, or I really only want a tight, succinct group of keywords directly related to puppy training. If you have the option, the default option of include additional, that says give me everything, and you may have to do a bit more manual filtering. If you say, no, I want to ignore that stuff and just give me the tight ones, you can click ignore additional, and that will bring you back a smaller set of keywords. So that's just something to be aware of. Now let's just do a quick recap. Basically what we do is we generate our list of keywords, we apply filters that we want, and it's for a market we're generally looking at searches of 500, and for specific content it might be, we set it around the 100 searches per day, and to be safe we like to have our 15 here in the phrase to broad match ratio. Again, now you've got a simple tool in your hands that allows you in a few moments to see the big keywords in your marketplace. There's no excuse not to be one of the people who target these 90% of rubbish keywords. So if you haven't done so already, please be sure to download your copy of Market Samurai now. If you need any help at all, please check our website at marketsamurai.com. We've got training videos there and a knowledge base to help you out of common questions that people are asking. And if beyond that, if you still have any problems, we've also got dedicated people on tech support who are happy to help you out. But please remember, we are based in Australia, which is basically the opposite time zone or the other side of the planet, which means that typically it's a 24-hour turnaround because we work when most of the world is sleeping. So please be aware of that. Now, something that I just want to stress is that traffic is not the full picture. You can't leave it here. You've got to know that your traffic also represents people who are looking to spend money, people who are happy to hand over cash, not just people who are going to waste your time. That's really important. And so if you get that wrong, you'll get a big hosting bill, but you won't actually have anything in your bank account. And this is where many marketers fail. So be sure to check out the next video where we cover this.